Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of our platform live stream series. As always, I'm really excited to be here with you. We've been doing this now for a couple of months, and I got to say that the engagement and the participation has been fantastic. And so thanks, everybody, in advance. Hopefully, the information that we're sharing with you is helping you in your business journey. Really excited today because I am joined by Chris Timms. We're going to go into intros in just a minute, but what we're going to be discussing today is along the lines of what we've touched on a few different times. But we're going to talk about how true MSP platforms are really powered by open ecosystems. We're going to give you a little bit of insight into what that means from a ConnectWise perspective, what we think the definition of an open ecosystem is, some of the opportunities that are available to MSPs, and all the goodness that goes along with being collaborative and open. And that's what we're doing over here. So before we get into that, though, let's jump in. I am Brian Troy, Senior Director of Product Marketing at ConnectWise. And as I mentioned, I'm joined by Chris Timms. Chris, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, hey, everybody, Chris Timms. It's always a pleasure to be here. I have the lucky job of being the general manager for ConnectWise ecosystem. I've been with ConnectWise now 4 great years. And the honest fact is I had not heard of ConnectWise or an MSP, up until about 4.5 years ago. And the reason why I love my job and I really like being at ConnectWise is because I grew up in a small family in Brazil, of all places, and both of sides of my family were small business owners. So my mom's family immigrated from Italy after World War II. It started their own little construction business, which is actually still run by my uncles today. In my dad's family, I always kind of made fun of them. They went the wrong way. They went from the U.S. to Brazil and actually started the arcade business when I was young. And so at the age of 4, I became CTO of the company, chief testing officer, with all the games I got to play growing up. But why I love being at ConnectWise and why I kind of always tell that story is because I feel very passionate about our mission, right? Which is to really help the small business owners and to really provide the technology they need to be safe and the technology they need to really drive their businesses forward. And so I'm glad to be here and always appreciate being a part of these things, Brian. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, of course. Thanks. And Chris, we like to have fun. We like to keep this casual. Anybody that's seen past videos know that we always, like to keep it lighthearted. So, we're kind of turning the corner toward the weekend here. You got any fun plans? You do anything with the family? You can maybe to test out some more video games or anything like that?
Well, as any good Brazilian, I had to put both of my kids in soccer. So they're both competitive soccer players. My daughter's 10, my son's 8. So soccer season has started. So for any of those that know, it can be a little time consuming, though we do enjoy it. So that'll be a part of it. And I've always been a big sports fan myself. So I'm pretty excited. I went to the University of Texas, so I bleed burnt orange. So I'm excited the college football season starts up. So go Horns.
Yeah.
So Brian, I know that you had a very fun trip last weekend. We won't talk about the result of the game, but you were in Dublin for the Florida State game. I'd love to hear about what was the experience for college football in a international location like.
Yeah. So, for anybody who's a sports fan or a fan of college football in this case, I would advise any opportunity you get to go see college football in Europe or experience something that's a little bit unique for the United States in a different country. I would encourage you to do it because it was awesome. So, yeah, I had an opportunity. I was over in Ireland for about a week, and we spent a lot of time just embracing the culture and learning about all the different history and also kind of mixed in an American football game, which, yes, unfortunately, my team did lose. But I will say it's a lot easier to wake up the day after a loss whenever you're in a place like Dublin than it is whenever you're in a small college town, because lots of distractions, lots of ways to take your mind off of that loss. So, yeah, it was a really fun trip, a lot of good times, played some good golf, might have had a pint of Guinness or two. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so this weekend for me is about rest and trying to get back on track in the right time zone, because I think I know what time it is right now, but hey, that's how it goes whenever you're doing global travel. So cool. So, for anybody that is maybe new to our series, that's just a little bit of insight into, like I said, we like to have fun. We like to make it personable, share a little bit about who we are, because we are passionate about this subject. And the purpose of this Why Platform live stream series is really to help educate the MSP industry on this platform movement. And this is something that's been happening for quite a while in the enterprise space. There's plenty of examples, Salesforce, Microsoft, Adobe. But in the MSP space, it's quite rare. And we want to make sure that we're spending as much time as we can sharing information with our partners and even those who are not ConnectWise partners today about what it is we're doing, why we're doing it, and why we think it's so powerful and important for this industry. And so today we're going to talk about ecosystems, which, since day one of ConnectWise inception in 1982, has been an open ecosystem, and we still are today, and that's a big part of our future strategy. And so, Chris, why don't you go ahead and just outline a little bit of what you believe the definition of an ecosystem is and why it's important from your perspective for our partners?
Yeah, sure. I think at its most basic element, Brian, an ecosystem is really how you bring together, products and services in a way that's going to improve the lives of your end consumers, both through co-opetition, or both through co-opetition, right, which is competition and cooperation at the same time. And so what I think that means specifically in the for technology and in the MSP world, it's really how do you use platforms to serve the needs of our consumers, right? Which in this case is going to be our partners and MSPs through a growing array of producers, right? And so if you think about some of the pain points that's starting to emerge with the rise of a lot of new solutions, right? And I think sometimes we refer to it as the digital supply chain. The jobs that an MSP has to be able to serve, their end customers, the SMBs, is growing, and it's becoming more complex. And at the end of the day, it's going to be very hard for, a vendor or a single platform through its own capabilities to be able to offer, everything that MSP needs to fulfill their job. And so the goal that we have, right, through the creation of the ASIO platform and then tying that back into an open ecosystem is making sure that through capabilities that ConnectWise may have, or through that ecosystem, that we enable for those MSPs a place where they can get all their jobs done to the best of their ability to then serve those end customers and to do it through the most efficient means possible.
That's great. I think that's a great definition. And, we have been committed to this journey for quite a while and, excited to see where the next phase is going with the ASIO platform. And, as I mentioned, and we've talked about it, we have a strong approach to being an open ecosystem. Chris, in your experience, why is open ecosystem the better way to go than perhaps kind of a closed off ecosystem where you see that in some cases in the industry?
Yeah, and I'll start maybe talking a little bit about and expanding on some of the the comments I made in the beginning. I think that when you have an open ecosystem, you're trying to enable partners to find the right capabilities to drive their business forward, right? And you're not really able to do that through a closed ecosystem because the number of offerings and the things that you can use and leverage is going to be very limited. And so the intent of an open ecosystem is to really open up the portfolio of options for partners to truly find what's going to work best for them. When we think of an open ecosystem at ConnectWise, there's really kind of three main pillars that we work towards. The first is, of course, the ASIO platform. You need a mechanism to be able to serve that open ecosystem upon, right? And that's always been the vision that we had with ASIO. And so really, ASIO is going to be our way for partners to be able to complete their daily tasks, right? I think our vision is that, every technician out there can be using ASIO to fulfill their needs, right? And it could be in, the business management portion of their business, right? Through pricing or quoting or contracting or whatever it might be, or it could be to another extreme on the cybersecurity part of their business, right? Where they're understanding what are, how their endpoints are protected, what threats may be out there. And if you're able to use one system of engagement, right? Let's call it a single pane of glass for lack of a better term here. But if you have that system of engagement where everyone can get their jobs done in an easier manner, it's going to make their lives easier, right? In the same way, for example, and one analogy I like to use is I always pick up my phone, right? When I talk about, the platform in an open ecosystem. In many ways, that's exactly what we're trying to mimic, right? So in my case, I have an iPhone. Apple did a great job in building the platform, of which a lot of what it was based on. They built iOS for vendors to be able to tap into that open ecosystem. And now I have the ability to choose the vendors that I use to make my life easier. And so inherently, that's what we're trying to do through ASIO. The second component of what we really work on is integrated products and services. And so what we're trying to do is really extend the reach of ASIO, right, through those vendors and to integrate them into what we're doing to make ourselves better, for the MSPs and our partners. And then third is making sure that we have extensive technology partnerships. That's going to allow us to enable faster innovation and also allow us to be able to understand what partner needs and to serve those needs in a better manner.
Oh, that's great. One of the things that we've hit on a couple of times over the past few months here that I'm really excited about is the extensibility that you just mentioned a minute ago. And what we're doing is, and what all platforms do is they really unlock the capabilities that live underneath in the infrastructure to a variety of third-party vendors and then also partners, so that whenever you think about what you have in a platform where you have a centralized data layer, where you have common services, as a vendor, as a partner, you can take advantage of that platform and you can build on top of that, and you can realize all of the greatness that exists there, and frankly, all of the time and investment that exists in building all of that to help move a lot faster, to help bring information closer, to see everything in one spot. And sure, single pane of glass. But the reality is what you'll be able to do in this platform world is take a lot of the disconnected apps that you maybe have today, and sure, maybe they're integrated in one form or another, but we're not talking about integrations. But we're talking about extensibility of a platform where that data is coming into a single place where you're able to then take that, make business decisions off of it, and see it across everything. So I think, that's just my favorite part about what we're talking about here. Chris, anything to add to kind of the extensibility piece there?
Yeah, and I think the hardest side always of building a platform is, what we call a two-sided platform, right? You have the people that's the demand side, the users from an MSP's perspective, and you have the supply side, right? The vendors that are trying to, provide those solutions into, the consumers. Ultimately, everyone is looking for network effects, right? When you construct a platform. And what really network effects means is that a platform has been able to scale to provide the advantages into the end customers. So a good example of that would be, let's say, eBay. If eBay had 100 users on there, it's not very useful for vendors to really come on, or even for those users to go find what they're ultimately looking for. Very limited, right? But if there's 1 million, 10 million, right, people on eBay, that makes it a very different experience. You're going to have all of the options that you're looking for. You're going to be able to price shop. You're going to be able to find the things that you're ultimately looking for your own needs. And so network effects is what everyone is trying to be, is ultimately trying to guide to from a platform perspective. And so extensibility is a key element of ensuring that those network effects become a reality, right? What we're trying to do with it from extensibility is to make sure that even vendors and even partners themselves have the ability to tap into the underlying elements of our platform, the different workflows, some of the data elements in there, and to be able to leverage those components to build out their own capabilities, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, that's going to construct a better user experience, a more robust platform, and thereby the scale and network effects that are needed, right, to make this a reality and incredibly useful for our end partners and the MSPs.
No, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I just think about like our artificial intelligence layer and capabilities, and the ASIO platform specifically around being able to use that to supercharge a lot of this because it's in one spot. The data is in one area. So really cool. Well, Chris, is there anybody, you have the great privilege of working with so many of the wonderful third-party ecosystem vendors in our world here. Is there anything on the horizon that you wanted to highlight, or anybody that you've been working with on some cool stuff?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We really pride ourselves on the integrations that are built into the ConnectWise solutions. There's over 400 integrations today that have been built into our products and services. We have 96 great certified integrations that you can check out on the ConnectWise marketplace. What does it mean to be a certified integration? It means that those partners are working closely with ConnectWise on those integrations. We're doing security audits and scans on them, constantly to make sure that those integrations are very trustworthy and that partners won't have any problems on them. So those are going to be your main integrations that you should be looking for and prioritizing. We've got a couple of great ones that we're super excited about. We launched Infima, which is a security awareness training certified integration, earlier this year. Their slogan, I love, it's 3 clicks to freedom. Inherently it means that you can move all of your users in 3 clicks, from some other security awareness training products into their own product, and it's incredibly flexible and easy to use. We have Cypher, which is an AI penetration tool that recently went up on the marketplace that we think is going to drive a lot of value for partners. And then we also have CPOD Cyber, which is a new certified integrator that we recently launched. So we know how difficult cybersecurity, can be nowadays, and they are making it easier for MSPs to both offer cyber insurance to the end customers and their, the small business owners. But it's also going to make the MSPs easier to be able to get the tech E&O insurance out there and to get really good rates. So I would say check out CPOD Cyber as well. Cool.
All right. Well, we always like to keep these things sweet and short, and hopefully we're bringing a lot of value to the community here. But, Chris, this is, I think, the first live stream you've done, but this isn't the last one you're going to do in the next 7 days, right? You've got another one coming up here. So we want to tease that a little bit. There's some big announcements coming down the pipe from ConnectWise. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of a preview of what you'll be discussing here in the coming days.
No, I appreciate it, Brian. And I think you started the conversation by talking about how ConnectWise for now over 40 years has been an open ecosystem, and it's a key part of our DNA and something that really pride ourselves on. And that's always a constant thing that we're looking to improve, from a strategy and from a delivery perspective for our partners. And so we've been hard at work really enhancing the ConnectWise marketplace. So shout out to a lot of good team members, Jim Martin, Andrea Barrow, Vicky Bruns, and a host of other people that have been out there really working hard to make this a reality. That marketplace is going to get launched next week that we're super excited about. So on September 4th, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a live stream to kind of kick things off and get that launch. So Andrea, Vicky, and myself will be on again talking about some of those new capabilities. We couldn't be more excited about it.
All right, cool. So mark your calendars. Less than 7 days, next Wednesday. Make sure that you tune in and check that out. I've gotten a little bit of a preview of the new marketplace, and I mean, I'm pumped because there's just so much greatness out there. And whenever you have a thriving open ecosystem like we do at ConnectWise, it's great to see it all coming together and see everybody working together, because the priority here is really to help make our partners successful and make the MSP industry successful. And so that's what you see whenever you look at this new marketplace. So make sure to tune in. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thanks again for joining us today. We'll be back again next month for another installment of the Platform live stream series. Thank you all very much. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.